As the years pass, we are often told that with age comes wisdom. This is not just a saying, but a reality that unfolds through experience, reflection, and the lessons learned from the trials of life. Age teaches us things that youth can only dream of understanding. It sharpens our perspective, deepens our insight, and gives us a greater appreciation for life itself. But wisdom is not simply a product of time, it is the result of the way we choose to embrace that time. It's about learning, growing, and evolving through the experiences that come with age. As we age, we begin to understand the importance of patience, kindness, and forgiveness. We realize that life is not a race, but a journey that must be walked with intention. We understand that success is not measured by wealth or status, but by the relationships we build, the impact we have on others, and the peace we find within ourselves. Age brings a certain clarity, a quiet understanding that there is more to life than what meets the eye. It gives us the ability to look beyond the superficial and see the deeper truths that lie hidden beneath the surface. Let us embrace the wisdom that comes with age, for it is a gift that not only shapes our own lives, but has the power to inspire and guide others. Age is not to be feared, but to be cherished. The wisdom it brings is invaluable and can be passed down for generations to come. Patience is often misunderstood, especially when we're young. We're told that time is precious and that we should move quickly, seize opportunities, and make things happen. But as the years go by, you begin to see things differently. You start to understand that patience isn't about just waiting for things to unfold, it's about knowing that everything happens in its own time, and that rushing things can sometimes do more harm than good. The young might be in a hurry, eager to reach the next milestone, but as age settles in, you realize that life isn't a race. It's more of a journey, and part of that journey is learning how to be still, how to be patient with both the world around you and with yourself. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, patience teaches you that some things are worth the wait. You start to understand that certain blessings take time to manifest, that the foundation of something solid and meaningful is not built overnight. Over the years, you learn that there's a beauty in the waiting. It's in those moments of stillness that you find clarity, that you learn about yourself and the world in ways that rushing never could provide. When you're patient, you're giving life the space it needs to unfold naturally, without the pressure of forcing things to happen before they're ready. Patience allows you to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. It lets you savor the lessons, the moments of quiet growth, and the subtle changes that happen when you're not frantically trying to control every outcome. What you learn with age is that patience is not passive. It's an active form of trust, a trust in yourself, in the process, and in the timing of your life. It's understanding that sometimes the best things come when you least expect them, and that when they do, they'll be all the more meaningful because you allowed them to arrive in their own time. As the years pass, it becomes clearer that knowledge isn't just something you read in books or hear in lectures. Sure, the words on the page can give you facts, statistics, and theories, but they don't give you the wisdom that comes from living, from walking through the trials, the triumphs, and the hard edges of life. The truth is, life is the greatest teacher you'll ever have. When you're young, you think that you can learn everything from a textbook, that knowledge is power. But as you grow older, you realize that real understanding comes from experience. Books can teach you the theory of love, but only experience can show you what it means to give and receive love. Books can tell you how to manage your money, but only living through financial struggle teaches you the value of every dollar. In the same way, books can talk about friendship, but they can't prepare you for the pain of losing a friend or the joy of finding a true companion. Experience teaches you things no classroom could ever provide. It shows you who you are, what you're capable of, and what truly matters. It sharpens your judgment in ways that no academic achievement ever could. The lessons you learn from the hard times, from the struggles that test your character, they stay with you forever. They are the kind of lessons that shape who you become, that prepare you for the challenges ahead. Life has a way of teaching you things you never expected. It humbles you, builds you up, and sometimes even knocks you down, but in those moments of hardship and growth, you learn the most important things of all. These are the lessons that can't be written in a book. They're the kind of lessons that only come through living fully, through allowing yourself to experience both the light and the dark sides of life. And when you finally look back, you realize that the greatest education you'll ever have came not from a university, but from the life you've lived, the choices you've made, and the challenges you've overcome. As time moves forward, one of the most striking things you begin to realize is how inevitable change is. It doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't wait for you to be ready. Change is always there, a constant companion throughout life. But the true wisdom lies not in trying to resist it or hold on to what once was, but in learning how to embrace it, to adapt to it, and to grow with it. When you're younger, change can feel like something to fear. You're not sure what it will bring, and it often feels as though the world is moving too fast for you to keep up. But with age comes the understanding that change is not something to be afraid of. It's part of the rhythm of life. It's the force that keeps everything moving forward, that allows growth to happen. Every chapter of life brings a new phase, a new opportunity to learn, to discover, and to transform. You begin to see that fighting against change is like swimming upstream, tiring, exhausting, and ultimately futile. When you resist change, you deny yourself the chance to evolve, to become more than you were. The real power is in embracing the shifts that come, understanding that they are part of your journey, and recognizing that sometimes change is exactly what you need to push you towards something better. Age teaches you that nothing stays the same forever, and that's not something to mourn, but something to accept. There's beauty in the process of transformation. As we change, we uncover new strengths, new passions, and new perspectives that we never knew we had. We learn to see the world in different ways, to appreciate the diversity of experiences and the richness that comes from life constantly evolving. What becomes clear as you grow older is that change doesn't have to be something you fear. It's a chance to learn, to grow, and to become the person you were always meant to be. You stop trying to hold on to what is familiar and start welcoming the new, knowing that each change brings with it a new set of possibilities, a new chapter in the story of who you are. Change becomes a friend, not an enemy, and with time you learn to move with it, not against it. As the years accumulate, you start to understand something profoundly simple, yet incredibly powerful. The relationships we build are the true measure of our wealth. In youth, we often chase after the things we think will make us happy: money, status, recognition. But as life unfolds, it becomes glaringly clear that none of those things hold the same weight as the people we choose to surround ourselves with. Early in life, it's easy to take relationships for granted. You think that the people who are there with you now will always be there, and that their presence in your life is a given. But as time moves on, you start to realize that relationships are fragile, that they require effort, care, and intention to thrive. People come and go, and sometimes the ones who matter most are the ones who stick by you through thick and thin. You begin to understand that true wealth isn't measured by the zeros on your bank account, but by the bonds you share with others. It's in the friends who show up when the world falls apart, in the family who supports you even when you fall short, in the loved ones who care about you not because of what you can give them, but because they simply value your presence. The older you get, the more you realize that these relationships are what make life worth living. They give you purpose, joy, and a sense of belonging. And as you get older, you learn to cherish the people who truly matter. The ones who know your flaws, who've seen you at your worst, but still choose to stand by your side. Those are the relationships worth investing in. The superficial ones, the ones based on convenience or status, fade into the background. What remains is the deep, unshakable connection with those who understand you, who care for you, and who make you feel seen. The beauty of aging is that you start to recognize the value in these connections. You stop wasting time on relationships that drain you and start investing in the ones that nourish your soul. And when you look back, you realize that the wealth you've accumulated isn't measured by what you have, but by the love you've given and received. The people who have walked with you through the highs and lows of life are the ones who have truly enriched your existence, and that is a kind of wealth that time cannot take away. As the years pass, you start to realize that one of the most freeing things you can do in life is to forgive. Early on, forgiveness can seem like something reserved for the saints, something too difficult for most of us to fully grasp. We hold on to grudges, carry the weight of past wrongs, and convince ourselves that we need to remember every hurt in order to protect ourselves. But as time goes on, you begin to understand that holding on to these feelings does nothing but keep you anchored to the past. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened, or that you condone the wrong that was done to you. It doesn't even mean you need to continue a relationship with the person who hurt you. What forgiveness really does is release you from the grip that anger, resentment, and pain have on your life. It allows you to move forward without the burden of carrying old wounds. Over time, you learn that the people who hurt you aren't the ones still suffering, it's you. You're the one holding on to the bitterness, the one letting it rob you of peace. Forgiveness is the key to letting go of that pain, to finding freedom from the past. There's something incredibly powerful in forgiving others, but even more so in forgiving yourself. As we go through life, we make mistakes, sometimes big ones, and the guilt can weigh heavily on our hearts. But forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, frees us to learn from those mistakes and move on without the constant reminder of our failures. It's only when we let go of the shame and regret that we can fully embrace who we are and who we're becoming. You start to see that forgiveness isn't about excusing behavior, it's about taking back control of your own life. When you forgive, you're no longer letting someone else's actions determine how you feel. You're no longer allowing the past to dictate your present or your future. And in that release, you find a peace that can't be found anywhere else. Forgiveness doesn't come easily, and it doesn't happen overnight. But as the years teach you, it's one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn. When you forgive, you make space for healing, for growth, and for a life that's not defined by past hurts. You realize that the most powerful way to move forward is by letting go of everything that's holding you back. And in that act of forgiveness, you finally set yourself free. As you grow older, one of the most profound lessons you learn is that life is not a competition. When we're young, we're often told that we need to prove ourselves, that we need to climb the ladder, and that success is determined by how we measure up to others. But with age comes the wisdom to understand that this pursuit, this constant comparison, is a fool's errand. You begin to see that the race you're running is not against anyone else, it's against yourself, your own potential, and the life you're meant to create. In your youth, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that everyone around you is ahead, that they're living the life you wish you had, achieving the things you aspire to. You compare their success to your struggles, their happiness to your moments of doubt. But as the years pass, you start to realize something fundamental: you are on your own unique path. The person you're meant to be, the life you're meant to live, cannot be measured by someone else's achievements. What matters is whether you are growing, whether you are becoming more of who you are supposed to be, and whether you are staying true to yourself. You begin to understand that success isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. It's not about having more than the next person, or being further along in your journey than anyone else. Success is about finding peace with where you are, appreciating the progress you've made, and focusing on what truly fulfills you, not what society says should fulfill you. The more you understand this, the more you realize that true contentment comes from within, not from external validation or accolades. It's a humbling realization that you don't have to outrun anyone. You don't have to keep up with the world's definition of success. What you need to do is define success for yourself. And as you do that, you start to focus less on what others are doing and more on what you're doing. Your life becomes less about comparing, less about measuring, and more about simply living, about learning, evolving, and growing into the person you were always meant to be. With age, you also come to appreciate that everyone is facing their own battles, their own challenges. What you see on the surface, the successes, the achievements, are often just the tip of the iceberg. You don't know the sacrifices, the struggles, or the unseen obstacles others have faced to get where they are. And that's when you realize that competition with others is not only unnecessary, but it's also unfair. You are not in competition with anyone but the person you were yesterday. What matters most is not how fast you get there, or how many people notice you along the way. What matters is the integrity with which you walk your path, the peace you find in your own heart, and the joy you experience in becoming the person you were always meant to be. As time passes, one of the most valuable lessons you learn is the importance of trusting yourself. When you're young, you often seek validation from others. You look for approval, you ask for advice, and you wonder if you're making the right decisions. It's natural to seek guidance from the people around you, especially when you're still finding your way. But as you grow older, you begin to realize that the most important voice you can listen to is your own. The truth is, no one knows you like you do. No one has walked in your shoes, felt your struggles, or understood your dreams in the way that you can. With each passing year, you become more in tune with your inner voice, the quiet whisper of intuition that has always been there, guiding you when you choose to listen. The more you trust that inner wisdom, the more you realize that you have the strength and clarity within yourself to navigate the challenges that come your way. Trusting yourself means making decisions based on your values, your heart, and your understanding of the world around you. It's about looking within, asking yourself the tough questions, and being honest with your answers. The world will try to tell you who to be, what to do, and how to act. But trusting yourself means not letting those external pressures steer you off course. It's knowing that you are capable of charting your own path, and that you don't need anyone else to tell you what's best for you. As you get older, you learn that life is full of uncertainty. There are no guarantees, no sure things, and no absolute right or wrong paths. But when you trust yourself, you develop the confidence to move forward, even in the face of the unknown. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan, because you understand that life doesn't always work that way. You learn that trusting yourself means having the courage to make choices, to take risks, and to face challenges head on, even when the outcome is uncertain. Trusting yourself also means forgiving yourself when you make mistakes, because you realize that failure is not the end, but part of the journey. The mistakes you make are not signs of weakness, they are simply opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. The more you trust yourself, the more you understand that setbacks are just stepping stones toward a better future. You embrace your imperfections, knowing that they do not define you, but rather shape you into the person you're meant to become. And perhaps one of the most powerful aspects of trusting yourself is that it allows you to let go of the need for external validation. You stop measuring your worth based on what others think or how they perceive you. Instead, your confidence comes from within. You learn to appreciate your own accomplishments, to recognize your own growth, and to value the person you are becoming. In the end, trusting yourself is not just about making decisions, it's about understanding that you are enough just as you are, and that you have the wisdom, strength, and resilience to navigate whatever life brings your way. As the years accumulate, one of the most significant realizations is that failure is not a permanent state. When you're younger, failure often feels like the end of the road, the final word on your dreams, your potential, and your worth. It's easy to let a setback define you, to believe that a mistake means you've fallen short, or that you'll never rise above it. But as time passes, you begin to understand that failure is just a moment, not a life sentence. Life has a way of teaching you that failure is inevitable, that nobody, no matter how successful, is immune to stumbling. The most successful people in the world have failed countless times, but what sets them apart is not that they never fell, but that they didn't let those falls stop them. Over the years, you start to see that failure isn't something to be feared or avoided, it's something to be embraced, because it's in those moments of failure that you learn, grow, and evolve into the person you were meant to be. When you fail, you get a chance to reflect, to reassess, and to improve. It's the opportunity to identify what went wrong, to figure out what you can do differently, and to come back stronger. Failure, in its most raw and honest form, teaches you resilience. It teaches you to get up, even when it feels easier to stay down. It teaches you patience, understanding that success doesn't happen overnight, and that every setback is just another step on the road to where you need to be. As you get older, you begin to see failure as a part of the process. It no longer feels like a barrier, it becomes a bridge that connects you to the lessons that can only be learned through struggle. With time, you start to embrace the uncomfortable truth that failure is a powerful teacher, and without it, growth would be impossible. Every failure brings with it wisdom, a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. It teaches you how to handle adversity with grace and how to use the lessons learned to fuel your future successes. What becomes clear with age is that failure is not about who you are, but what you've learned and how you've responded. The key is not to let failure dictate your worth, but to let it shape your journey. It's in those moments of adversity that you discover who you really are, what you're truly capable of, and what matters most to you. You realize that the fear of failure can often be worse than failure itself. The fear can paralyze you, stop you from taking risks, and hold you back from pursuing what you truly want in life. But once you let go of that fear, once you stop allowing failure to have power over you, you find freedom. The freedom to try, to take chances, and to know that failure is simply a part of the process, a necessary part of success. Ultimately, with time, you begin to understand that failure is not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new chapter. It's a chance to start over, to reimagine your goals, and to keep moving forward with more wisdom and strength than before. Failure is not something to avoid, but something to welcome, because it's in those moments that you're given the opportunity to rise higher than you ever imagined. As you age, you begin to understand that the moments of solitude, the times when you're alone with your thoughts, are not something to fear, but rather something to treasure. When you're young, there's often a sense of urgency to fill every moment with activity, with people, with noise. We fill our days with distractions, seeking constant connection and avoiding the silence that might make us confront ourselves. But as you grow older, you start to realize that solitude is where the most profound growth occurs. There is a unique power in being alone. It's in those quiet moments that you come face to face with who you really are, without the influence of others, without the pressure to conform to someone else's expectations. You begin to understand that in solitude, you're not running away from the world, you're stepping into yourself. It's in the silence that you can hear your own voice, the one that gets drowned out in the noise of everyday life. It's where your deepest thoughts, your most honest reflections come to the surface. Solitude gives you the space to breathe, to think, and to process. It allows you to examine the choices you've made, the lessons you've learned, and the direction you want to go. It's a time for introspection, for self-discovery, and for gaining clarity. In a world that constantly demands your attention, solitude offers the rare opportunity to simply be, without obligation or expectation. You don't need to be anything for anyone else. You can just exist, and in that existence you find peace. In those quiet moments, you also learn the importance of self-reliance. Life is full of challenges, and no one can walk your path for you. Solitude teaches you how to depend on yourself, how to find your own strength, and how to navigate life's ups and downs without leaning too heavily on others. You start to understand that while relationships and connections with others are essential, the foundation of your life, the core of who you are, must come from within. In solitude, you realize that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need external validation or constant companionship to feel whole. As the years pass, you also begin to understand that solitude doesn't mean loneliness. You can be alone without feeling isolated. The difference is in how you choose to spend that time. In solitude, you learn to enjoy your own company, to cultivate your own happiness, and to nourish your spirit. You start to see that being alone is not a void to be filled, but a space for personal growth, for creativity, and for inner peace. The beauty of solitude is that it allows you to reconnect with yourself on a deeper level. In the quiet, you rediscover your passions, your purpose, and your dreams. You begin to recognize the things that truly matter, the things that give your life meaning. You learn to listen to your heart, to follow your instincts, and to honor your true desires. It's in solitude that you come to realize that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. With age, you learn that solitude is not something to fear or avoid, but something to embrace. It's in those moments of stillness that you grow the most, that you find the answers you've been searching for, and that you come to understand who you really are. It's a space where you can heal, reflect, and transform, and it becomes a vital part of your journey toward inner peace and fulfillment. As you accumulate years, you start to understand the profound impact that kindness and generosity can have on the world around you. Early in life, it's easy to overlook the small acts of kindness, thinking they're insignificant, or that they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. But with time, you realize that kindness is one of the most powerful forces at your disposal. It's something that has the ability to heal, to connect, and to transform not just others, but yourself as well. You begin to notice that kindness doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It's often in the little gestures, the smile to a stranger, the hand extended to help someone, the listening ear for someone who needs it, that the most meaningful connections are made. It's in those quiet moments of compassion that you realize how deeply we all crave connection, how much we all long for the simple acknowledgement that we matter. When you offer that, even in the smallest ways, you change someone's day, and in turn you change the world. With age, you come to understand that kindness doesn't just help others, it helps you too. Every time you choose to act with compassion, you create a ripple effect. When you lift others up, you find that you too are lifted. There's a certain joy that comes from giving, from being a source of light in someone's life. The more you give, the more you receive in ways that are impossible to measure. It's not just material things, it's the intangible gifts, the feeling of fulfillment, the peace of knowing you've made a difference, The warmth that fills your heart when you realize that your actions have had a positive impact on someone else. You also begin to realize that kindness is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It takes strength to be kind in a world that can sometimes feel cold and unforgiving. It takes courage to offer compassion when others might not deserve it, to extend understanding when others might not offer it in return. But it is in these moments when kindness feels the hardest that it is needed the most. The world may not always reward your kindness, but the power of it lies in the fact that you don't give it for recognition or praise. You give it because it's the right thing to do. And in doing so, you elevate yourself and everyone around you. Generosity, too, takes on a deeper meaning as you age. It's not just about giving material things, but about offering your time, your attention, and your energy. The greatest gift you can give someone is the gift of yourself, the gift of being present, of truly listening, and of being there when someone needs you. It's the willingness to share what you have, not just in terms of wealth, but in love, in patience, and in understanding. The act of giving becomes less about what you have to offer and more about the impact your offering has on the person receiving it. In your later years, you begin to understand that kindness is a choice you make every day. It's something you can choose to embody in every interaction, no matter how big or small. It's in the way you speak to others, the way you treat them, and the way you approach the challenges you face together. Kindness is not just a reaction to others, it's a way of being, a mindset, and a reflection of who you are at your core. Ultimately, you come to realize that kindness and generosity are not just acts, they are ways of life. They are the foundation of the connections we build, the peace we find, and the legacy we leave behind. When you choose to live with kindness, when you give freely and love openly, you create a world that is richer, more compassionate, and more full of hope. It is, in the end, the most enduring impact you can make on the world, one act of kindness at a time.